An elderly man sits on a park bench, watching the world move in a blur of neon and hurried footsteps. Most people pass by like ghosts, their eyes glued to glass screens or their voices lost in a rhythm of frantic competition. But then he sees a man standing by the railing, not looking at a phone, not checking a watch, just existing in the stillness. Within 5 minutes of sitting down next to him, the older man begins to speak, not about the weather, but about a choice he made 40 years ago that still keeps him awake at night. The Sigma male doesn't seek these confessions, and often, he doesn't even understand why they happen to him. He isn't trying to be a therapist or a hero. He is simply there, standing like an anchor in a room of drifting ghosts. It is a side effect of how he's wired, a frequency of presence that most people have traded for noise. Stick with me until the end of this video, and you'll understand why your social detachment isn't a wall, but a mirror that reflects the unedited version of the world back to itself. Number 1. Modern society is caught in a rhythm of mental fragmentation where people are rarely in the physical room. The elderly have spent a lifetime reading faces, and they feel a careful tone that feels distant coming from their own family members. They notice the subtle itch of a phone in a pocket or the glazed look of someone waiting for their turn to speak. The Sigma male disrupts this expectation because he isn't mentally elsewhere. He simply happens to be fully present. The stranger feels their detection system for authenticity light up with quiet realization. Asterisk, finally, someone is actually here. Asterisk. Number 2. Most social interactions are bound by a polite script that keeps everyone at arm's length. Older people spend years being handled with a condescending softness, treated like fragile museum pieces by those who mean well but don't see them. The Sigma male skips the performance of age-based politeness and speaks with a grounded honesty. He addresses the person in front of him as an equal, which is something he never asked for, but something they desperately need. The elderly stranger feels like a real adult again, simply because he refuses to play the virtue game. Number 3. Most conversations have become a race to the finish line where people only listen long enough to deploy their own story. The elderly often lose this race, learning to truncate their memories to hit the highlights before the other person's eyes start to wander. The Sigma male values stillness and feels zero social pressure to fill the gaps or inject his own ego into the silence. He isn't performing a technique. He just doesn't feel the need to compete for airtime. The older man realizes he doesn't have to rush, allowing the unedited version of his life to finally surface. Number 4. Here's an uncomfortable truth. The oldest generation is grieving a world of masculine stillness that most people think is extinct. They remember a time when men were expected to carry themselves with composure and a massive economy of words. While the crowd is busy shouting for attention, the Sigma male naturally embodies this quiet dignity without even trying. The elderly stranger looks at him and feels a shock of familiarity, as if they've stumbled upon a grandfather of the old world in a young man's body. They adopt him emotionally in that moment because his self-governed compass doesn't move with the tide. Number 5. Society has no patience for the gaps in an aging mind, viewing a slower recall as an inconvenient problem to be rushed past. The elderly absorb constant messages that their memory is a burden, and they eventually shrink their world to avoid the social cost of forgetting a name. The Sigma male breaks this power balance by simply waiting, treating the silence as if it were the most natural thing in the world. He isn't bothered by the delay, and that invisible kindness makes it safe for the stranger to try remembering again without fear. It is a quiet side effect of how he is wired, valuing the present moment over the efficiency of the clock. Number 6. Almost every interaction an older person has, from family to service workers, comes with a hidden agenda or a managed protocol. They feel this extraction constantly, and they keep their vaults closed because they know their stories are usually being collected for a reason. The Sigma male enters the conversation with an empty agenda, seeking nothing and performing for no one. This total absence of extraction creates a psychological safety that allows the elderly to unburden themselves of secrets they've carried for half a century. They realize they aren't being handled or used, they are simply being heard. Number 7. Most people value large social networks and broad visibility over the heavy, singular weight of individual stories. They are too busy building their own digital legacies to realize they are surrounded by fragments of a world that no longer exists. The Sigma male, by simply being the silent observer, accidentally becomes an invisible library for these lost histories. You walk away carrying the confessions and regrets of a stranger, an inheritance of experience you didn't ask for, but now must carry. It is a side effect of being the kind of man who lets the silences belong. The reason the world's elders choose you as their witness is not because you are trying to be powerful. It is because you possess a grounding stillness that the rest of the world has traded for noise. While others are easily swayed by the winds of social validation, your nature remains unmoved, standing like an anchor in a room of drifting ghosts. Understand that your silence is not a void, it is a weight that others lean on when they have nowhere else to go. Receive what they share with the gravity it deserves. Thank you so much.